This video is sponsored by Skillshare. This also might be the first video that you're seeing from me since I got engaged. So yeah, you popped the question, we're very happy. Now, on with the video. I am really living up to my namesake at this point. I don't know what it is with me and painting things in miniature. I've just always been fascinated by tiny things like little furniture or tea sets that you get in dolls' houses. I'm a little bit obsessed. So I've done little drawings and paintings before, my tiny landscapes and my miniature houses. And a couple of weeks ago, I made these tiny sketchbooks. I will have that video linked up above and in the description as well if you want to see how I made these. But I got so many great suggestions from you all on ways that I could fill these tiny pages. So today I'm going to do a mixture of loads of different things, treat it like my usual sketchbooks with a lot of variety, just tiny. So there are 13 spreads in each of these, which makes 26 spreads in total. And I'm just going to fill as many as I can in one day. We'll see how we go. And I thought we would start, of course, with some landscapes. I have to say, it was a bit of a rough start. It might not look it, but I was really struggling at first. I think because I haven't drawn or painted anything in a good week or so, and I was also just adjusting to working on a smaller scale while also trying to make sure that it was coming up okay on camera. My hands were actually shaking for this first painting. Also, just out of habit, I reverted back to my usual palette of colours, you know, the one that I have been trying to get away from because it doesn't give me the right greens that I want in my landscapes. But by the time I realised, I thought I might as well just go along with it for the first painting, and then I just switched things up for the next one, and then I got a bit more flexible as I carried on, just adding in the colours that I needed whenever I felt like I was lacking something. It didn't take long for me to settle into the process and start really having fun. There's always something really mesmerising about painting landscapes, and it's the kind of thing that I can do quite confidently. Like, I've done enough that I know when it gets to that point where it starts going wrong or it doesn't look quite right, and there is always a point for me, like in any painting that's like that. But because I've done so many landscapes, I know that I can fix it. Just because I have so many times before, I know it all comes down to those last little details that pull it together and make things look like less of a mush. And I know that we are getting through these quite quickly. I have a lot of footage from this day of making art, as I'm sure you can imagine. So if you want, I can make a dedicated video out of one of these paintings, potentially real time if you want that as well. Just let me know if that is something that you would like to see, and like which page you would like to see slowed down, and if you would like it in real time or just, you know, a bit slower than this. And yeah, whatever the most people opt for, I will make that happen. Oh, also, I just remembered, I decided pretty early on, pretty much straight away to be honest, that I would just be sticking with this one sketchbook for this video. 26 spreads just seemed like way too many as soon as my brush hit the page for the first time. So revised goal for this day was to fill the 13 spreads in this one book.
As a young girl, the fields were mine. We played hide and seek for hours, raised our shadows among the pines. So offshore, playful and free, without a care in the world. I was one rich little girl, daydreamer, kidnap me. Take me back, all the way back to them days. Running around in a gown and a crown, barefoot. No mistake ever kept me late. We spent summers catching fireflies and winters on our skates. One big smile across my face. We used to dance our way to church on Sundays. Mama set the pace. Daydreamer, kidnap me. Take me back, all the way back to them days. Running around in a gown and a crown, barefoot. barefoot. Have me running around, dressed in a gown, barefoot.
All right, that is a good 5 paintings down. How about some insects next? That was one of the great suggestions that I got from a lovely commenter. And while I get on with these, let me talk to you about today's sponsor. The most recent Skillshare class that I took was called Organic Expressive Florals with Watercolour and Ink. In fact, that's a good idea. I think maybe we'll do a few pages of that next. But basically, in this class, the teacher on Marwin, who is actually a top teacher on the platform, she talks about how she, as a recovering sketchbook perfectionist, aren't we all, how she's been able to create these beautifully loose, expressive and effortless looking watercolour floral paintings. And the great thing that I found about this class was that it can be really useful for people at just any point in their creative journey. Like I make a living making art and I'm gradually building the confidence in my work, but it still always helps to learn new things, especially when it comes to letting go of perfectionism to come up with something truly meaningful and expressive in its own right. Also, as a beginner, I think a lot of people put pressure on themselves and feel like giving up when things don't go to plan, and a class like this and practices like this just guide you in how to go with the flow. So a word about Skillshare. Skillshare is an online learning community with lots of fine art classes as well as classes on illustration, graphic design, creative writing, entrepreneurship, business and stuff like that. There's just heaps to discover and there are real projects to dive into, plus a fantastic community of supportive fellow creatives. There are already thousands of classes and their catalogue is always growing. They are always launching new premium classes. Plus, because it's all about learning, Skillshare is curated specifically for that, meaning that there are no ads, which is ideal for staying focused. All that, and it is less than $10 a month with an annual subscription. And that said, the first 1,000 of my subscribers to click the link in the description will get a free trial of premium membership to try as many classes as they like, including the one that I mentioned earlier, and to just explore their creativity. So big thanks to Skillshare for supporting the channel. Now let's work on finishing off these insects and then we'll move on to some lovely loose florals.
You know I'm
only other way that I tend to use my sketchbook is as like a scrapbook or journal, so I'm going to do some cutting and sticking and a little bit of tiny writing in there as well. Today has been such a fun way to cheat my way to a full sketchbook that is still 13 spreads, even though they are tiny. I got to do all of the things that I love in one day: painting, experimenting, sketching and journaling, all just on a smaller scale. So I don't know if I will keep making and working in tiny sketchbooks. I do have that other one to fill, which I definitely will, but I would like to at least bear in mind that I can fit in more varied work if I do it a bit smaller from time to time. I have been at this now for about 6 or 7 hours, so I think that'll do for today. Thank you so much for joining me for this one. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope to see you soon for the next one. Bye.